Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Jimbo's Garage. A good friend of mine has got a horizontal commercial grade air compressor that has been out of service in his shop for several years now. And he'd like to get this thing up and running and in service, and he asked me if I could help him make a stand for it that could be mounted to the concrete surface that would be able to be functionable. Oh my gosh. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be building it out of some 4-inch square tube and 2x4 rectangular tube, both of which have 1/4-inch wall thickness, and I've got some flat bar stock right here that we're going to be using for the end caps. And then we're going to sandwich the compressor to the stand with this 4-inch by 4-inch, 1/2-inch thick rubber isolating pad to help for vibration. Before we get started on today's video, I just want to talk a little bit about my Instagram. You know, Instagram is a great social media platform to check out what's going on in the day-to-day basis here in the shop, stuff that doesn't make it to YouTube that maybe you might be interested in seeing, you know, what goes on here every day. So real interesting thing to check out. If you don't follow me on Instagram, do so. I post regularly and you can check that out. All right, let's get started today's video. Yeah, you know, sometimes I just can't get through those intros. As easy as it may look, at least to me, I struggle with them a lot. But anyways, got through it. All right, so the first thing I'm doing is cutting up the material right here. This is the 4-inch square tube, 1/4-inch wall, and I'm putting the slugger to the test right here. I'm telling you, this thing has not failed me yet. The blade is actually missing a few teeth, but still is relentless and cuts everything like butter. This thing gets used in the shop every single day, and I don't know. I don't know what I'd do without it. It is just take me forever to cut the things the way I cut. But anyways, once I got everything cut out, just took it over to the Burr King and rounded the edges and deburred everything. You can see that I'm rounding those edges pretty heavily because the tubing itself is rounded right on the edge right there, and those are going to be end caps, and I wanted everything to just kind of fit pretty good. You know, this is breaking out the mag drill right here. This is something that I recently acquired, and I've had other ones before that work really good, but this one here is fine product, and it's the first time I've actually used it. And you know, this thing here, sure, you could take things over to the drill press or take them to the mill and button them down and drill them through, and I'm sure that would work. But for something like this is the perfect application. You can see how you just move it into position, engage the magnet, and you're off and drilling, and within seconds, you got a perfect hole drilled. Now it's time to get these end caps welded on. We're just going to fire up the HTP 200i with Easy Set. And just like the name implies, it is Easy Set. You just set the diameter wire that you're using on the left, and then the dial right there on the set to straight up and down, and then the wire thickness on the right hand side. You know, you can just flip that thing from you know, 20 gauge, 22 gauge, all the way up to you know, 1/4-inch thick, and just by the turn of the dial, that simple. And the settings really work really well. You know, these end caps right here is something that I didn't really need to do, but I felt that it just makes for a better looking project. You know, it makes the project look finished, at least in my opinion. I know it's a lot of extra work, but this is the fun part about doing a project, and you know, and enjoying what you're doing, and knowing that at the very end it's going to be the best that you can do, and it's going to turn out as good as you hope. In this case, this is it for me. You know, it just looks professional. If I could have left them open and it would have been fine, nobody would have noticed, but at least I know that when I'm doing something like this, that it's a finished product. You know, I recently had some air put in the shop. You see the garage doors are down, and you know, it's might be 95, 98 outside, and the temperature on the inside right here is right around 78, 80, 81. It stays pretty comfortable there, and it makes it nice working in the shop during the daytime. And just finishing up these end caps right here. You can see in the background right there, I've got all of them done, and this is the last of it right here. So next is to do some grinding right here. Again, I want it to look as best as it possibly can. And so I'm going through the steps here on the grinding wheels. I've got a 1/4 inch grinding wheel that I'm started out with, the excavator from Walter Surface Technology. Those things really remove the metal really fast, especially if they're brand new. Man, you got to be careful. Sometimes you can take too much off. But once I just got the heavy part off, then I flipped over to a sanding disc, which is similar to a flap disc, but it is a little standing disc pad, and it smooths things out pretty nice. And that worked out pretty good. This is really the first time that I've used those sanding discs, and a little bit different, but nice and smooth. Worked out pretty good. Now, I had a lot of these to do, so there's this took a little bit of time to do all this, but eventually I got it all done, and then we're ready for assembly. Now, like I said, there's not much to this right here. This is basically just stacking the pieces on top of one another and be sure everything is nice and square, and that's what I'm doing right here. And to weld everything together, I'm going to be using the 2400. I've got it spooled up with some 35 thousandths dual shield flux core. It's a great process. Going to crank the settings all the way up to the max right here, and fire away. If you guys have never used dual shield flux core, it's kind of new to me. I've only been used it for the last maybe year or so, and I don't use it all the time. But when I do, especially on a project like this, to me it's the perfect application. The welds are very, very clean, spatter free. They lay down a lot of metal in a short period of time. It's really hot. That's why you see me wearing my welding jacket and my glove on my left hand. You guys, my regular viewers, may notice a lot of times I weld in short sleeves, and I don't really use all that. But man, this is a hot process, and you need all the protection you can get. You can see how smooth these welds are, and that's the impressive thing about something like this. You can lay down all the welds you want right here, and literally no spatter at all. Everything is super clean. Now, I hear some guys talk about gun manipulation, and you don't need any with when you're doing this process. And yeah, that may be true, and I'm sure that it is. And I've done the same thing. I've just drug it right through, and it works really good. But I'm just a creature of habit. I really do this gun manipulation on everything. I don't know. It's just kind of just the way it is with me. And because the settings are set at the max on this machine right here, it's still running just a little cool, but it is only 1/4 inch thick material, and it allows me to do a little bit of manipulation and get a little bit of profile to these welds. Yeah, you can see right there just how clean everything is and how spatter free it all is. I did hit this with a wire wheel just once to drag it over the top, but still nice and clean. Well, there it is, all complete. Almost. One more last thing, and that is to get the feet welded on, and I had a hard time trying to figure out what to do. Thought about it, and I came up with this. I had a piece of 3-inch angle iron, 1/4 inch thick, that I had on my rack outside, and I thought this would be the perfect thing. I did want to cut a little bit off of the one side, and just for, you get this envision in your head about how things are supposed to look, or how things that you want things to look, and this is the way I just thought I needed to have it. And I just took it over and ground, softened up the edges and deburred everything. And once I got that done, I had to drill some holes in it, and I could have taken it over to the drill press, but you know what? The mag drill was sitting on the welding table right there, and I thought, well, it's here. May as well utilize it the best way I can. And once I figured out how I can do it, then it was quick and easy, man. Just a matter of minutes, and I had those holes drilled out. From sitting outside, this angle iron had a lot of rust on it, and I just wanted to clean everything up the best I could prior to getting everything welded on. At this point, everything is nice and clean, and so I thought it would be a great idea. Even though this is going to get painted, I still wanted to clean everything up as best as I could. And there they are, all 4 of them, and basically 2 on each side, and one side just sort of centered them up right where they needed to be, just a couple tacks, and just welded it all the way around. I did learn my lesson here a while back about dual shield flux core. I tried to weld downhill with it, didn't work too good. A lot of viewers commented and said weld uphill, and so from that point on I've been doing that, and that worked out a lot better. Well, there it is, all complete. You know, a great little project. Not much to it, but it was a lot of fun making it. Got some paint on it and ready to install it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram. Check out my website at JIMBO'sGarage.com. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more.
See you next time on Jimbo's Garage.